Greetings, guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. Last week on Patreon, I asked if there was any particular videos anyone wanted me to do, anything in particular you wanted to see me talk about, and someone told me about this Facebook group for grandparents who feel like it is their right to have access to their grandchildren, called Grandparents Being Punished and Can't See or Talk to Grandchildren, and also saying I should go into more estranged parent Facebook groups. And so this feels like the best of both worlds because it's kind of the same thing. So I went into this Facebook group and I was really excited to get into it and like have a look at some of these grandparents and ram my head into a wall. But then I stumbled upon someone. I encountered a post from our favorite estranged mother. Doormat mom herself posted one of her TikToks into this group. So naturally, I got a little bit sidetracked and ended up leaving the grandparents group and going over to her group instead because this is the video she posted.
1,500 new members in the 48 hours following the release of the People magazine article about me and my Facebook group, Doormat Mom No More. That's how many estranged parents joined in those 48 hours since the release on Saturday night. And it does not look like it's slowing down anytime soon. So for all of you who still believe that estrangement is not an epidemic and is not trending, it might be time for you to cry, uncle.
So, naturally, she was taunting me, right? She was begging me to go into her Facebook group to see these hundreds of new people that showed up. I firstly would love to say that it's so funny how she's like, hundreds of people joined my group, so you know that it's a massive epidemic and everyone is suffering from this, and so many parents, it's like all of the parents, because 500 people joined her. She acts as though her group has millions of members. There are 7,000 members of her group. That is not very many. That is not, in the grand scheme of things, 7,000 people is not that many. So the fact she acts like it's this massive, horrible epidemic is quite funny. Because that's not that many people that joined. But they post there's more. There's 30 posts a day in this group, which I don't know how they manage it. But when you make yourself a victim and find a place to yell about how much you hate your kids, you go for it. And it's great content for me. I really realistically probably should not be making this video because, as I have mentioned a few times, I read her book recently. And by recently, I mean I read her book in August and have spent the past several months rehashing everything that I wrote and trying to make it into a video script so I can sit down and talk to you about her book. However, because I've done that, I have so much rage towards this woman and I have not had an outlet, so I just need to get a little bit of it out. So I would normally focus on her. However, I do have a video that will be coming out where I do focus on her because I read that book. I put myself through it. It's over 100 pages and I wrote 45 pages worth of notes. So it's taking me a very long time to filter through it, but it is probably going to be another at least month until I have that video ready because I have a lot going on at the moment. I don't have as much time as I would like to dedicate to finishing it. So if you would like to see that video, it is probably going to be my longest video. So, clear your schedule for when that comes out. And if you want to see the full 45 pages worth of notes that I have taken, you can get that over on Patreon, patreon.com/savvycat. Now that I have sort of talked a little bit about an upcoming project, let's have a bit of a talk about this group and what is going on. And I know I just said I wasn't going to talk about Doormat Mom. However, I really just have to say one thing really quick. And this is a bit of a spoiler for my upcoming video because there's some information that you only know if you've read the book. But she started it by mentioning this article and I couldn't not mention it because this article she did with People magazine, which is how hundreds of people found her and joined the group. It's pissed me off so much because the article is titled Woman was blindsided when daughter cut her off, so she created a community for other estranged parents. And then it says Laura Wellington created a community for parents whose children have cut off contact. And she also says in the article that she still has a strong relationship with her other children and tells people she was literally so blindsided by the situation. And I just need to draw attention to this real quick, just to show the level of hypocrisy of this group in general, because we all were under the assumption that her daughter cut her off, right? Like, it is heavily implied through everything that she does that her daughter is the one who cut. No, that's not what happened. Doormat mom, initiated the estrangement. She's the one who cut contact with her daughter, not the other way around. And then she sits here and is like, I can't believe my daughter doesn't talk to me anymore. Shut up. Oh my God. I'm just pissed off, right? Like, I wasn't gonna mention that or like spoil the book or whatever. But it was necessary because I needed an outlet and I needed to yell about that a bit, because what the fuck? Just lying. Her entire career is just based around like assumptions and lies and trying to make herself look good. And I honestly feel like there's, to a point, she's like convinced herself of some of the lies that she tells. But keep in mind, for everything you see about this woman from all my past videos, my upcoming videos, she is the one who initiated the estrangement. Now that we have that out of the way, let's have a look at the Facebook group, the Doormat Mom No More Facebook group, which also is open for fathers as well, but she is Doormat Mom, so she gets to claim the title. I am new to this page. I happened to see the People article the same day that I got into an argument with my 23-year-old adult child. I have never been more distraught and heartbroken. I raised her with little help from her birth father from 11 on. He was a Disneyland dad. When she started high school, she started acting out a bit. She was always kind, gentle, and sweet girl, so acting out is relative. I devoted my life to her, driving her long distances, to private school, activities, etc. Most days, I drove 2 to 3 hours a day getting her around. I have a demanding full-time job, so it basically means that I rarely slept. Usually 3 hours a night. She was always showered with love and gifts. I traveled with her all over the world. She was very successful academically. She was always respectful and kind. When she went to college, she started speaking to me less and stopped answering my calls and texts. She always had an excuse, yet I came to find out that she would talk to her father almost every day. I'd see her summers and Christmas vacations. When she graduated this past Christmas, she came home as usual, and within a few days' warning, moved in with her father and girlfriend in another state. She hopped on a plane and left me a letter informing me that she had changed her name and that I should address him that way. This is something that was planned with her father over a year before I was informed. I feel completely betrayed and used. I feel like I'm owed an explanation for how poorly I was treated. I'd like to know what I did to deserve being dismissed like that. Refuses to answer the question and just wants to move on, like those 8 years, high school and college, didn't happen. All life decisions were made with Disney Dad. They have also set the relationship parameters. If I accept the new life, at will, try to fill you in about life occasionally. Am I wrong to want an answer? So we hit the him part and immediately all of us were like, oh, right? Like that was a shared reaction we all had of the like, oh, I see. And the comments are very mixed, but there are a few comments being like, like the same thing, being like, he didn't think you were going to support him. You didn't give the energy that you were going to support him. He didn't feel safe and comfortable with you. Like, that is clearly what the issue is here. And she replies to them all being like, you know nothing. Actually have a lot of friends who are LGBTQ+. And so, like, you are making assumptions. I would always accept my child. I will love them no matter what. I was just blindsided because I had no idea. And she never told me. So I just wish I would have known. And then I could have been supportive. And it's funny because, like, you're saying all of this, but still use she, her pronouns for the entire time. The entire time, start to finish. She, her pronouns. And then you come into the comments like, I love LGBT people. I would support who they are. You clearly did not give that sort of energy and did not make them feel as though that were the case. And again, by not using the correct pronouns now, kind of proving the point that I don't think that's entirely true. But even still, right, I'm gonna go to the core of this here, right, because this is something that most of these parents have in common, and that is that they think you can buy love. They think of things on such a shallow level. Like, you'll notice all the things she says is like, I drove him places, I bought him things, I sacrificed my sleep, I did all these things, I traveled with him, I took him places, like saying all of those things and being like, so why wasn't it enough? Why have they gone to their father? And the answer is very simple of a like, you did not say anywhere in that you met their emotional needs. Nowhere did you say, I was a shoulder to cry on. I helped them through their struggles. I checked in on them emotionally. You never mentioned that like you gave them support for what they were and told them that you would support them and love them no matter what. Like, there was nowhere in this that said you were like a cheerleader, that you were emotional support, that you helped meet their emotional needs. Whereas the Disneyland dad, clearly this child, they're 23 now, but, you know, I'm going to use child for all of these people. This child, this person felt like their father would accept them, right? Like, he felt like his father would love him and accept him and it wouldn't be an issue. So clearly there had been some sort of emotional connection, even if he wasn't like materialistically, like financially more involved. He had the emotional support. And I think that so many of these parents don't realize how important that is. Like, that is what so much of this revolves around. Like, most of these estranged parents all sit here and are like, I gave them everything. And what they mean by that is they gave them everything except like actual love and affection. They just mean they gave them time and like things, and that's not good enough. Like, you are required to give like food and, you know, time and such. Like, that is a requirement as a parent. And yes, like doing extracurriculars and traveling and stuff, that's not a requirement. That is like an added bonus. That is something that you have given them, and they don't like require that, but it's a nice thing to do, right? But that's not the same as like giving them the emotional relationship that they need. And kids are going to prefer having a good, loving, trusting connection with a parent than they are like about traveling. That is so much more important. And so to overlook that and be like, well, all he does is have fun with them. All he does is be emotional and have these conversations and be supportive. Like, that is very important. And I think there's this whole issue, and I talked about this in my default parent video. There is an issue in itself of like, you know, a lot of the times kids go to their dads because their moms have been so strict and hard on them, and like it's not been fair and they haven't been meeting their needs and such. And it's these mothers see them going as their dad as this betrayal because their dad didn't contribute anything. And I feel like this is such a double-edged sword of like, maybe in this instance, the dad was more emotionally available because he wasn't participating actively in their life, whereas the mother had to take on the responsibilities, like all of the responsibilities, so then like couldn't find the time to be available. And so I think that it is like valid of this child to be in the situation where they are, but it's also, you know, there's blame on both parents' shoulders. I don't think in a lot of these instances the dads are like entirely innocent. Obviously, he didn't contribute as much as he should have, but also it's not okay that, you know, one parent, like the other parent wasn't there emotionally and meeting their emotional needs either. I feel like it's a fault on both parts, but where the child ended up ultimately makes sense. I don't know if that made sense, right? Like, it's just a really unfortunate situation. But ultimately, if you are not meeting the emotional needs of your child, you are more likely to be left behind. They need that emotional support and connection, and emotional needs are very, very important. This person posted an image and they said, this is how most of us feel. And the image is just text, and it says, I don't think anybody understands the immense pain a mother feels when they are cut off from their child, who was their baby once, who needed them, doesn't want anything to do with them. It's something only a person who has gone through it can understand. I don't think parents understand the immense pain a child feels when they make the decision to cut contact. I don't think parents understand how upsetting it is to have such a relationship with the person, with the people who are meant to love you unconditionally, no matter what, and feel as though you have to cut that tie because you were not given what you needed. You as a parent are meant to be completely dedicated to your child. You are meant to love and support them pretty much like unconditionally, right? Like you are supposed to be their number one cheerleader. You are supposed to be there for them and provide for them and love them and nurture them. The only reason they cut ties with you is when you haven't done that. It's when you are not doing that, when you don't love them unconditionally, when you are taking advantage of them or abusing them or any such things. That is when they will cut you off. And that is a heartbreaking thing, because all they want is for you to be the parent that you were supposed to be and the parent that they needed. And it hurts them more than you to finally accept that that will never happen, because a lot of kids stay in contact with parents who treat them poorly purely because they hold on to this hope that one day this parent will be who they need them to be. They hold on to this hope that one day they're going to turn around and be like, I actually do love you unconditionally and I will be here for you and I'm sorry for everything. And it's only when they hit a certain point and accept that that's not going to happen that they cut ties. It has taken years of pain before they make the decision to go no contact with their parents. And it hurts them more than it hurts you. Afterwards, sure, maybe they look happier and freer, but they've spent the entire time prior feeling trapped by the fact that they just want their parent to be there for them. And the only reason they feel freer after the fact is that they have now accepted a truth that they can't change and are moving on from it. So like, okay, nobody understands the pain that you feel for a child cutting you off, but you will never understand the pain that they felt to get to that decision. Question: I am torn. 10 years no contact from him. Totally his choice. I am moving. Have 3 large boxes of childhood mementos I just opened and searing pain that I haven't felt for years, actually. Having trouble shaking it off. Do I keep these boxes as testimony that he loved me once? The Mother's Day I love my mom killed me. Or do I ship them to him? Will it ease my pain or risk regret later? Tough one. And this is wild to me. I see a post like this occasionally in these groups of people like asking these questions, being like, I have all these childhood memories. Do I keep them? Do I throw them? Do I send them away? And it's baffling to me that these parents would want to get rid of this stuff, because like, do you not want to hold on to those memories? Do you not like still, despite, you know, the fact they've walked away, like surely you still love them, right? I feel like if you're in a position where you're being like, oh, childhood memories, do I just throw them out? It kind of makes me lean towards a like, I maybe understand why they cut you off, because like you feel like because they hurt you, you don't want anything to do with them anymore. And that's just wrong to me, right? Like, I know this person is asking for advice, but it's the fact that there's even the idea of like not holding on to it that is like really baffling to me. I don't know why you wouldn't want to hold on to the memories of your child, especially if you don't like see them anymore. And like, I know that it like hurts, but I just can't I'm a very sentimental person, but like, I just can't imagine wanting to let that go, right? Especially like a lot of people in the comments do agree with me on that, but then there's like someone who's like, neither, throw it in the landfill, no contact is a betrayal, and there's no reason to be kind and send the things to him. I'm sorry that you're going through this. And that has 8 likes. And there's like, toss it in the trash, it means nothing to him, keep whatever you need for yourself and let go of him for good as you're tossing it. It's just fascinating to me to be like, throw them all in the bin. They betrayed you. They don't talk to you anymore. That is the ultimate betrayal. So like, don't hold on to them at all. Let go of them completely. And I just think that's an absolutely wild thing to do with your child, right? Like, that's just, I don't know why you wouldn't want to hold on to that and why you wouldn't want to remember it. Like, they were a child once. That is still them, right? Like, those memories are still real and you should still love them even if they don't talk to you anymore. I think the fact you want to throw them away says a lot about you, and I'm not on your side. This person posted, if you told me 5 years ago that my daughter would never speak to me again, I would tell you to get the hell out of here. Never gonna happen. And I saw this and immediately my first question was, what is this woman's story? What is this woman's story? What is she saying that makes her post this? Like, I feel like I'm gonna read her story and be like, girl, I could tell you your daughter was never gonna speak to you again based on this story. So I clicked on her page to see what other contributions she has made. And the first thing I saw, the most recent post she made, was this. I think these sissy, hurt feeling estranged adult children that went no contact with their parents It's a really strong start. It's a really strong start. Immediately from just that bit, I think maybe I know why they don't talk to you anymore. Never would I have believed you if you said my child wouldn't talk to me anymore, said the woman who speaks about them like this. Anyways, I shall carry on reading. Are causing real harm to kids that were really legitimately abused by seriously bad parents. Not the helicopter moms that missed a freaking soccer game or wasn't in touch with their feelings because their houses were in foreclosure and was one step away from sleeping in the car if that wasn't repossessed. Or getting the crap beat out of your dads you now embrace. I think that meant or getting the crap beat out of them by your dads you now embrace. And moms are killing themselves over it. This is such a complicated thing. There are so many different levels to this, and I'm going to try and get into it a bit, right? So we'll go through sort of step by step, right? Firstly, being like, these kids are doing real harm to the kids who were actually abused. They just really love to ignore what abuse means because none of them think that emotional abuse is real. They're like, you weren't getting beat up, so therefore you have nothing to complain about. And it's like, shut up. That's not how this works at all. Emotional abuse very much is real and does count. And just because you don't think you were emotionally abusive doesn't mean that you weren't. Just because you don't think you were doesn't mean that you weren't. Next point, they shouldn't complain about a helicopter mom that missed one soccer game. Firstly, being a helicopter mom has its own source of like, depending on, people have different definitions of what a helicopter mom is, but that can be traumatizing for a lot of people because being a helicopter mom can come with a lot of control and a very massive lack of like independence. That can be traumatizing. Like if you're a parent who is constantly on your child, you need them to check in with you every 5 seconds. You need to know exactly who they are at any time. You need to know what's on their phone, what they're doing, who they're talking to, and every single thing about them at every point of every day. Like that is overbearing and controlling and does cause trauma. Like, yes, you are doing it from a place of like love and fear, probably, but it doesn't stop the fact that that is not good parenting. It is suffocating and it is squashing their ability to grow and become their own people. And it also like causes like codependency and relationship issues and like trust issues and all of this other stuff that when they move out and they reflect and they see that because you've been on them for so long, they need that space and separation because they need to figure out who they are outside of who their parent was telling them they had to be, and they like take advantage of the space they finally have for the first time. There's step one. Point two, no one is cutting you off for missing one soccer game. But like missing a soccer game can be like a final straw. Missing a game can be like, it depends on the situation that led up to it. You didn't just miss one game. Maybe you missed a soccer game because you were prioritizing something else. And it was like not a priority. Like you have a favorite child and you were constantly prioritizing their thing over this thing. So you were missing these things because you prioritized this other child. Or there's like a whole bunch of things that could go into why missing a soccer game could be like the catalyst of an estrangement. But it's very, very rare that that is the case. And it is never the only reason. And then we move into the more, the harder, bigger stuff, right? Of the like, it's unfair that you don't talk to me because I wasn't emotionally available when we were losing money and the house was going to get taken and the car was going to get taken. Like, it's not fair that you had these expectations of me to be there for you. How dare you not talk to me now because I wasn't there for you as a kid, because I wasn't there for you because it was hard. And this goes back to what I said before, right? Like, I understand that it can be hard to like juggle things and balance things. And obviously if you are, running out of money and your house is being looked at for being repossessed and you are like struggling so much with like finances and just keeping everyone afloat, I understand that that may make it difficult for you to be there for your kids. That makes sense. However, knowing that doesn't mean that like your kids aren't allowed to be upset with you for it, right? Like you can have sympathy for a situation and still be upset for it. Like the fact you weren't there for them emotionally, regardless of the reason for that, like it doesn't change the fact that you weren't there for them and it still caused that trauma and it still made them feel unloved, unwanted. It still had this massive negative impact on them. And so when they grow up, and maybe they have that information now, they can look at that and be like, I understand why, but I don't forgive you. And that is valid and that is something that you have to accept. Is it fair? I mean, that depends on how you look at it. What is fairness, really? It's like quite an objective thing, right? Like, you may feel that is unfair. However, they think it's unfair that you weren't there for them. Because they were kids, right? Like, money and like all of that, like, it meant nothing to them. They just wanted their mom there for them, and you weren't. And so that hurt and it upset them. And that like is a core part of who they are and who they were growing up and who they are now as adults. And like, they're allowed to want their space because of that. They're allowed to be upset by that and like, you know, process that how they want. And maybe one day they'll come back after they've had this space to sort of like forgive you for that and work through that emotion. Maybe they will forgive you and they'll come back into your life. Maybe they won't. And it sucks and I'm sorry, but that is just the way it goes sometimes. And then into that last point of the like how, you know, it could be a factor of like they don't speak to you anymore because you weren't there for them because you were being abused by their father. And again, really horrible situation, and I'm really sorry that happened. And it's the same point again. They can feel sympathy for you in that situation and still not forgive you because ultimately they were in a household where they were witnessing abuse and also were most definitely victims to it, at least on an emotional level, if not a physical level. And so the fact that you stayed is something that they're going to find hard to forgive you for. And I'm not saying that leaving an abusive relationship is easy. I know from experience, right? Like, leaving an abusive relationship is not easy. It is not as simple as just taking your kids and leaving. I know that. Adults know that. Kids do not know that. Kids see that you are being hurt, that this man is hurting you, this man is hurting them, and you aren't doing anything to change that. And so even when they're an adult and they have that sort of context of knowing that it's not that easy, they can still be hurt by that. And they can still not forgive you for not leaving. And as much as that sucks, so you just have to accept that because they were also victims in that situation. And as far as maybe that's not even what happened and they cut you off, but they are, you know, embracing their abusive father. Same question, right? You know how hard it is to leave. Your kids were victims to him too, right? Like, if you were abused into, you know, being in that relationship and staying in that relationship, why is it that your kids can't be victim to that? Why is it that you think your kids can't be manipulated by him to view you as the bad guy? Why is that your kid's fault, right? Like, in an abusive household, everyone is a victim. So you can't, you know, be like, I'm a victim and my kids are like taking the side of this abuser, so now they're bad too, when it can hurt, but they ultimately are also victims. Just some really important facts to take into consideration. I think the biggest one ultimately that so many of these parents need to, you know, process is the fact that like, just because you were struggling and something was hard doesn't mean that your kids have to forgive you for the way you treated them during that period. Like, it was hard for you, yes. It was traumatizing for you, yes. But if it was traumatizing for you, it was also traumatizing for them. And they were kids and they were not equipped to handle that. You are supposed to, you know, help them through traumatic times, not like let your trauma affect them. And I know that that's hard, but again, just because it's hard doesn't mean they have to forgive you for it. That's why it's important to have a support network. I have been accused of loving my children differently. I swear they keep track of every minute and penny spent with each one, even the grandbabies. Apparently, not only did I love one child more, but I loved their children more as well. This ate at me. I would work so hard to divide my time and money evenly after this was thrown in my face. I once was not invited to a Mother's Day dinner made by my daughter at her house for all the mothers in her life, except me. I was told about it and told I was not invited because of how my relationship with her was different from the others. Again, for a long time after this, my feet bleed from the eggshells. My feet and mind are healing. You see, I realized I don't love any of them more or less. I love each of them with all my heart. I love each of them so much it hurts, a pain indescribable. But they are different people, and those different humans I created love me differently. The different ways of showing love or not showing love has made them believe I am the one who loves all differently. While I no longer carry that blame, my heart may never heal. How can each of them love me or not love me so differently? You were so close to the point, like so close to the point. I love being like, I don't love any of them more or less. They just love differently. And so like, I'm not the problem. They are. No, you're still the problem. The problem is it's taken you until they're adults for you to realize they're different people. It is taken until your children are adults for you to learn that they are different people who require being loved differently. So like, okay, maybe you didn't give more to any one child. However, it felt like that to another child, right? Like, I don't know how many kids you have. I'm gonna go for 2 just because it makes it easier, right? So there's the child that is loved more and the child who is loved less, right? And it's like, okay, maybe you gave them equal things. However, the way you love aligned with like your first child, and you were like, oh, this is how it works. All right, I will do exactly the same with child number 2. But it didn't work with child number 2. They needed something different from you, but you weren't willing to learn what that was. You did not ask them what they needed from you. You didn't ask them or like figure out how to love them appropriately for who they are. So although you loved them the same, you like gave someone what they needed and you neglected what the other needed because you kind of just viewed them as the same person. But they aren't. So naturally, the one who is saying you love them less is not claiming you gave them less material things. They're saying you didn't invest as much in them. You did not get to know them. You did not meet their emotional needs like you met the needs of another child. Maybe this child was like neurodivergent. Maybe this child struggled with something. Maybe there was a mental illness that went on. Maybe there was like something that they needed extra care for and you didn't give it to them because you didn't think it was necessary because you didn't give it to your other child. And so thus, it appears you love one of them more. And you kind of do because you were willing to do what you had to for this child and not for the other one. And then even now, you figured that out. You have figured out that and been like, oh, well, it's not my fault. I gave them the same amount of energy. So like, it's clearly on them for being different and not on me for treating them exactly the same. It's absolutely on you. You didn't treat your kids like 2 different people. That is your problem. That is on you. And it must be really fucking annoying for that one kid who had to like fight for you to like realize that they needed more from you and you to ignore them and be like, but I didn't give your sibling more, so I'm not gonna give you more either. You are the problem. That's it. Yeah, end of. You are the problem and you were so close to figuring that out and somehow you didn't. They call you crazy so they don't have to call themselves abusive. That's the story they need to stay innocent while you get dragged through the mud. It keeps them in control while making your pain look like the problem. The call is coming from inside the house. Do these people hear themselves? Like, it's baffling to me that they can sit down and say exactly what their kids say and then be like, it makes sense for me to say it though. They're like, their kids will say something and they'll look at their kids and be like, how dare you say that? You're a liar. You are a liar. I never did that. I never treat you like that. Stop lying. You're making me look bad. And then they turn around and they say exactly that. And I'm like, but I'm right though, because I'm the parent. That's literally the problem. I get so, it makes me so mad. It like fills me with this rage that feels like it wants to like burst out of my body, right? Like I cannot voice it because there is so much there. And I think, a lot of it sort of comes from a place of experience. But it's like they make a mistake and you point out they made a mistake and they're like, how dare you say that I make mistakes? How dare you say that I make mistakes? Why am I always making mistakes? It's actually your mistake. And it's like, why am I allowed to always make mistakes and you're not? Why? Hey, you're wrong this time. Why do you always say I'm wrong? It's actually your fault. How come every time I point out you're wrong, suddenly I'm wrong? Why is it allowed to always be my fault and it's never allowed to be your Anyway, it's that same sort of thing, right? It's like you will say to them, you have hurt my feelings. I am upset. And they're like, how dare you say that? You've upset me. Now I'm upset and you're the problem. How dare you? You've upset me. So actually, you're the bad guy. They point out something that you've done to hurt them. And the response, instead of being like, I'm sorry, let's talk this through and work on it. The response is being like, well, you saying that I've upset you has upset me. So you're actually the bad guy. And now you're dragging my name through the mud because I'm victim blaming you, but how dare you say I'm victim blaming you when I'm actually the victim? And like, you can't win. It goes in a spiral forever because they refuse to take any accountability. They refuse to acknowledge that maybe they've done something wrong. They cannot handle the fact that you're telling them something has upset them. They don't want to acknowledge that they've hurt you. And like, okay, yeah, you don't want to hurt your child, but by you not acknowledging that you've hurt your child, you're just further hurting them and then pushing them away and then somehow making that their fault. Get some self-awareness is basically what I'm trying to say here. On self-awareness, I want to end this with a final TikTok from Doormat Mom because I saw it and I need to talk about it because it pissed me off so much. Take this as a little teaser for my video about her book that will be coming out hopefully within the next month or so. The text on screen is just, who initiated estrangement?
Who, in your view, is actually ending the relationship and initiating the estrangement? The parent who puts down a boundary, or the adult child who chooses to cross the boundary that was put down? Is it the parent, the adult child, or is it both? Leave your answer below. I'm curious to see what the consensus is on that.
So mad. So I've tears in my eyes because of the rage that I am feeling right now because I know what caused the estrangement. I know what happened. It goes back to what I was saying before. Why is it always the child? What do you mean? Like, who's the problem? The parent who set a boundary or the child who crossed the boundary? Why is the child who crossed the boundary the one who gets to play victim? Why is the one that gets to play victim the one who broke the boundary and then are like, whoa, you hurt me, so I'm never speaking to you again? You know what your boundary was that was crossed? The boundary, and this is the same for so many of these parents, the boundaries these parents have is not a boundary. It's them being like, hey, I have a rule for our relationship. Any boundary you set, child, I have the right to cross it. And if you tell me no, you've crossed my boundary. That is not what a boundary is. I won't tell you specifically what caused their estrangement because I want you to have some sort of, motivation to go watch my video on it later. But we can say, right, as I said, she's the one who cut off her daughter. And the reason she cut off her daughter is because her daughter told her no. That's literally it. That is the entire thing. Like, there's like a bit of a build up to it. There's a whole event and stuff that goes on. But like, ultimately, what caused the estrangement was her daughter said, no, Mom, you cannot do that. And then she sits here and is like, how am I at fault? I am the victim. My child crossed a boundary. Telling you no is not crossing a boundary. Telling you no, and then you being mad about being told no, that is you crossing a boundary. A boundary cannot be something that involves what another person can do. That's not what it is. Like, a person can do, like, not to you, right? Like, a boundary is like, you cannot do this to me. I will not do this. That's a boundary. A boundary is not, you can't tell me what to do. Not a boundary. It's not a boundary. You can't, like, just say that you are entitled to someone else's life, and when they say no to you, act like they've committed a crime. You can't do that. If a parent legitimately set a legitimate boundary and the child crossed that boundary, then yes, the parent is correct and the child is incorrect. Depending on what the boundary is, right? I feel like there are some things that, like, parents can't just be like, you're never allowed to speak to me about your problems because you're a parent. And I mean, I guess they can respect that boundary by then just, like, never talking to you ever again. But, like, they're allowed to be upset. Like, you can react to a boundary in whatever way, right? I suppose. If you set a legitimate boundary and your child legitimately crosses that line, yes, like, you are the victim in that situation. You are allowed to be like, okay, you've crossed the line. We need to talk about this. We need to sort it out. If they repeat, cross that boundary again, do what you need to do. Don't talk to your child anymore. You are allowed to initiate estrangement if, you're all adults. That's not what goes on. Most of the time it is, as I said, child sets a boundary, parent crosses the boundary, child says, hey, don't cross my boundary. Parent goes, hey, how dare you cross my boundary by telling me I'm not allowed to cross a boundary. Child goes, what the fuck? Stop crossing my boundaries. And then they cut them off because they keep crossing the boundaries. And then they're like, I am a victim because they crossed my boundaries. I said boundary way too many times. I don't think it's a real word anymore. Anyway, it makes me so mad. This woman is the biggest hypocrite in the entire world. I don't even care. Don't even care. And I have so many things to say about her. I have 45 pages worth of things to say about her. Thus, I needed to let off some steam today because I've been working on the script this week and I've just been ranting about it on Discord. Patreon Discord server now, by the way, if you're interested. And I've just kind of been in there ranting so much about this woman and how I've been feeling, and I just needed a bigger outlet. I hope you've enjoyed me yelling at you, and I hope this was a good taster for my massive video that is to come. Again, if you would like to see the planning process for that or hear me ranting about it as I plan, then please do join my Patreon at patreon.com/savvycat. Starts at only £1 a month, and for that £1 a month, you get my videos a day or more early and with no ads until it goes live. It really does mean a lot. I am doing a lot of bigger projects this year, and so I'm needing to take a little bit of a step back, which means I am going to be relying a bit more on Patreon for my income. So I really, really do appreciate it. It helps keep me going. So thank you. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Please do not forget to hit subscribe. I'm so close to 500k and I would really love to get there. So please subscribe if you have not already. A huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. Polar Bee, Sienna, Alicia, Mirielle, Bree, Bay the Trucker, Chastity, Beckett, Prismatic Petey, Sushi Kawaii, Phil the Duck, Jessie, River, Queen Glimmer, Ella, Mr. Noodle, Radsack, Knitting Menace, Chris, Ellie, Alexis, and Bobby. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes.